Shalom, shalom. Before I get started, I want to start off by giving all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harakah, Kwadash, Laiwalam Yum. Double honors to my apostles and elders at Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect, the ones out there who are doing this work diligently and chiefly keeping the faith, making your calling and your election sure. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. Right? The Lord scattered us via slavery, right? The transatlantic slavery and past slaveries too as well. He scattered us, right, unto these nations. And now you have a majority of us following, right, these idols, these gods of the other nations, right? But then you have a few, right, the elect who are returning to the Lord, right? This is Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. The word Egypt, according to Exodus chapter 20, it goes into bondage, right? So it says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt or bondage again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies, for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. So through slavery, we were sold to the enemies, and no one has been able to redeem us from captivity. Our Redeemer is coming, and his name is Yahweh Shai. Now, I'm going to play this video. This is a particular video that I found on social media of a former slave speaking. And I want you to check this out. Hopefully this is edifying, and hopefully this puts you in the spirit to return to the Lord and fear the Lord and see how prophecy has taken place, because Moses prophesied to us that we were going to go into slavery if we disobeyed the Lord, and that took place. So let's listen.
My name is Isa Moses, raised up in old time down month. My old master Nick raised. My master was named Louis Moses. My mistress was named Blanche. Are you ready for me to talk? Yeah, that's fine. My mother was a housewoman. And this, after she died, my father was field hanging, and white folks kept me around the house to cool water, houseboy like. And they had two weavers weaving, and two little running every day. But you know, I'd go out in the quarter to play with them other children. And the first hurt one, and he cut, he was wearing it. Well, the white folk told me, when they get at me, they get in the yard. Sometimes I'd go out there and get the plane, and one would hit me, I'd get a break. Nail it to me, to the yard I made. Don't nothing say like that. And I went on that way, and I never get out. My master was named Louis, you got that, and the mistress had a young master named Lige Mosley, he was a doctor. Beth Mosley, he was a farmer. Frank Mosley, he was a farmer. Joe Mosley, he was a farmer. Well, I had two mistresses, Betty Mosley and May Jane Mosley. Them was my mistresses. And then, as I went on to tell you about the made lasses way back then, and they had no iron mill like got made wood, had carpenters made wood mill. And they grind that lashes, and they had about big killers to make it in, you know, I had to put thick killers on. And when that lashes was made, they had poplar trolls to pour that lashes in, no barrel at all. I never seen a barrel long then, nothing but troll. And when they get the lashes made, they had plank to cover them trolls. Oh, what cover.
Well, you told me something about the way they made soap in the old days.
Yes, sir. I've explained that. Now, I was large enough to tote water to the soap maker, put on ash hopper. They had a bad, you ready?
You're talking about soap.
Yeah?
You're talking about the soap.
Now, when I was a boy, they used to make soap. Well, I was large enough to tote water to the soap maker to put on ash hopper. Now, they didn't have no barrel, they had bowls, you know, and their bowls coming that way, you know, that way, bowls is that. And on each end, they lay some causeway to hold ashes. And then I'd tote water and put on that ash hopper for the soap maker. I did make soap for the whole plantation. And make it by 2 or 3 bars. And long then, Cap, I ain't seen no bar soap. The mother had some, but I never seen none. And they had something dug in the ground, a hole, deep hole, and rolled up on each side of the plank. Well, it's about 3 foot deep, I reckon. Now I can come out about 8 or 10 foot long. Well, this tan leather. They'd lay a bar down in that hole, and then they'd lay a hide over that bar. And then they would lay another layer of bar and another layer hide till they got it like they want. And then they'd fill that thing up with water. But now before they tan that leather, they had a place to put it in to lay a while and get the howl. And when they got on that leather, it's just like any tan leather. And they had a man there to make shoes for all of us. Now we was children, good sized children riding about. That shoemaker made shoes for we children. And the old folks too. We had mighty good white folks. My memory, as far as I can remember, you know, mighty good. Mighty good. You know, they must have been good after the country surrendered. Didn't none move there after surrender. More moved there on the place.
You were meant for this.
It's like you.
Riding about, that shoemaker made shoes for we children. And the old folks too. We had mighty good white folks. My memory, as far as I can remember, you know, mighty good. Mighty good. You know, they must have been good after the country surrendered. Didn't none move there after surrender.
You can see how when this former slave speaks, it's not clear. Why? Because during that time, we wasn't taught how to read. If you were found with a book, especially the Bible, you were put to death. All right. So you're actually listening to a slave from back in that time. And we are slaves yet this day. I mean, in the book of Baruch, it let us know that we are yet this day in our captivity. All right. So you can hear the broken English from this brother, you know, and you can hear the babies crying in the background. You know, it was a horrid time. All right. And I'm gonna grab this real quick and then we're gonna continue to listen. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 47. Because thou servest not the Lord thy power with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. Verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. If you look up on Google, if they still have it, and you look up yoke of iron, you will see what was happening to our people. Just one of the things they put a yoke of iron upon us. We actually go to our enemies for the want of all things. All right, for clothes, the clothes that you got on, it was created and designed by your enemy. Look how Jake destroy each other for other people's name, for Louis Vuitton and for Prada and all these other different clothing brands that's not owned by our people. It's owned by the enemy, right? Gucci and all of that. Um, let's continue on.
On moved it on the plane.
What happened after surrender?
Sir,
What happened after surrender?
what happened?
Yeah.
Well, now, to tell me to the year for the folk know that they was free. And when they found out they was free, they worked on share to tell me. Worked on share. Didn't rent no land, they worked on share. Now, I was a boy, I'm going to explain it the best of my understanding. They say they worked on share. I think it said was it both third, I think. He got the third, I think he said what they made after surrender.
How many children do you have?
Me? Didn't have but one, he died. None but one, he died.
He didn't have no, he only had one child and he died. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 65. And among these nations thou shalt find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. Verse 66. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life.
Now, we was living 20 miles this side of Selma in Dallas. Now, while I was Boy Scout, I wasn't Boy Scout here. No, I wasn't Boy Scout.
How old were you when you came into G's band?
How old I was? 17 years old. 17 years old, and I come into band now. Man here named John Petty was here when I come, but the first owners of this place, I don't know nothing about it, but I hear the older people, Mark Petty. Not Charles G. was the first owner. Well, that was Petty, old man Mark's brother-in-law, tells me. But after old man G, Mark took place. Mark Petty. And then when I come here, they say his son John had played. I don't know about old man Mark and Charles G. But old man John Petty, he was a good man. He stayed here. I stayed here with him. Then he died. He been dead 40 some odd years.
Now, I'm going to read this particular page 12 of the Willie Lynch letters. And on that page, it says, let's make a slave. Now, I'm going to read on page 12, it says, the origin and development of a social being called the Negro. Let us make a slave a slave. What do I need? First of all, we need a black nigger man, a pregnant nigger woman, and her baby nigger boy. And I'm reading this verbatim. Second, I will use the same basic principle that we use in the breaking a horse, combined with some more sustaining factors. When we do it with horses, we break them from one form of life to another. That is, we reduce them from their natural state in nature, whereas nature provides them with the natural capacity to take care of their needs and the needs of their offspring. We break that natural string of independence from them and thereby create a dependency state so that we may be able to get from them useful production for our business and pleasure. All right, that's from the Willie Lynch letters. Okay. If you don't have the Willie Lynch letters, I suggest you get them because they're actually practicing these same principles to this day. To this day. Continuing on, it says, for fear that our future generations may not understand the principles of breaking both horses and man, we lay down the art. See, they consider it an art. For if we are to sustain our basic economy, we must break and tie both of the beasts together. They look at us as beasts, all right? We were traded and treated like cattle. They mated us. The most important plantation was the sex farms, all right? And you don't hear about that on mainstream media, but the sex farms was the biggest business for them. And Israelites don't like to hear this, but yeah, you were mated like cattle, right? So continuing on page 12 of the Willie Lynch letters, it says, for the fear that our future generations may not understand the principles of breaking both horses and man, we lay down the art. For if we are to sustain our basic economy, we must break and tie both of the beasts together, the nigger and the horse. We understand that short-range planning in economics results in periodic economic chaos, so that to avoid turmoil in the economy, it requires us to have breadth and depth and long-range comprehensive planning, articulating both skills and sharp perception. We lay down the following principles for long-range comprehensive economic planning. Number one, both horse and nigger are no good to the economy in the wild or natural state. I'm going to read that again. Both horse and nigger are no good to the economy in the wild or natural state. Number two, both must be broken and tied together for orderly production. Number three, for the orderly futures, special and particular attention must be paid to the female and the young offspring. I'm going to read that again. Number three, for the orderly futures, special and particular attention must be paid to the female and the young offspring. Look at our neighborhoods. Look who is being put on a pedestal. Look who is getting all of the government benefits. All right. This is planned. This particular thing, this particular rule set that they have, they consider it an art and they still implementing it to this day. And the only way you can break this particular chain is through the truth. Understanding who you are, going back to your natural state instead of being a nigger. Continuing on, number four, both must be crossbred to produce a variety and division of labor. You see that? Both must be crossbred to produce a variety and division of labor. They mated us like cattle, right? This is the part of the horrids of slavery, all right? Number five, both must be taught to respond to a particular new language. They took the language from us and taught us English. Number six, psychological and physical instruction of containment must be created for both. We hold the above six cardinal principles as truths to be self-evident based on the following discourse concerning the economics of breaking and tying the horse and nigger together, all inclusive of these six principles laid down above. Note, neither principles alone will suffice for good economics. all principles must be employed for the orderly good of the nation. These principles are still being applied to this day. All right. Now, page 14 in the Willie Lynch letters, it says, accordingly, both a wild horse and a wild or natural nigger is dangerous even if captured, for they will have a tendency to seek their customary freedom and doing, customary freedom, and in doing so might kill you in your sleep. You see, that's why you had a lot of revolts going on, right? Jacob, the Israelite man, has never settled for slavery. There was constant revolts, even up to this day. All right. But the thing is, this slavery that we're under was divine slavery for us disobeying our power. But now you got the elect waking up, turning back to the Lord. And what happens when the people do that? The Lord sends a savior. So Yahweh Shai is on his way back, and he's going to save us from our oppressors, right? But right here in this passage, it lets us know that, these people keep a tight leash on us, okay? That's why you see all of these celebrities out there. They can't give back like they want to. Why? Because they have a leash on them. They have a handler, right? If they give too much money, they're going to be cut off. Okay? So continuing on in page 14 of the Willie Lynch letters, it says, you cannot rest. They sleep while you are awake and are awake while you sleep. They are dangerous near the family house, and it requires too much labor to wash them away from the house. You see, so Jacob has constantly revolted, constantly attacked the ones who control us right now. And these people know that. It says, above all, you cannot get them to work in the natural state. Hence, both the horse and the nigger must be broken, that is, break them from one form of mental life to another, right? So they'll break your spirit, right? They'll use your woman to break your spirit. It says, keep the body and take the mind. In other words, break the will to resist. Now, the breaking process is the same for both the horse and nigger, only slightly varying in degrees. But as we said before, there is an art in long-range economic planning. You must keep your eye and thoughts on the female and the offspring of the horse and the nigger. You see? So that's why they pay perfect attention to the female, right? And they have look at our nation, all right? 80% of the household of our nation is ran by single mothers. You think that was a coincidence? No. that was long-range economic planning to them, right? So if you haven't read this book, man, go ahead and read it. I'm not going to continue on because, it's kind of pissing me off right now. I'm going to end it by giving all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harakak, Wadash, Lai, Yum. Double honors once again to my apostles and elders at Great Millstone. Shalom one once again to the elect. Hey, man, these people going to pay. They're not going to pay with reparations. They're not going to pay with fiat currency. They're going to pay with their lives. Shalom. Abba Ball.